IVM.
$100. That's all it takes to begin your journey with Bitcoin and Ethereum. No, really. With CoinSwitch, you can start investing in over 100 cryptocurrencies with just 100 rupees. On top of that, there are zero charges for deposits and withdrawals, so you can trade, buy, sell, however and whenever you want. All of this, plus their extremely intuitive interface, makes CoinSwitch the perfect app for beginners in the crypto space. But don't take my word for it. Just download CoinSwitch for free and try it out for yourself. If you'd like more information on cryptocurrencies, tune into a show about crypto with me, Rohan Joshi, my new adventure on IVM podcasts. CoinSwitch, kuch to badlega.
Here's your smart fact of the day. So, what's the difference between a business model and an operating model? A business model is an outline of how a company plans to make money with its product and customer base in a specific market, while an operating model is one of the tools that leaders can use to help them formulate and execute strategy. So it can contain an IT blueprint, location maps, a supplier matrix, people models, decision grids, etc. Very different, isn't it? The two of them from each other. Hey there. Welcome to Smarter with Sid, and in this episode, I'm going to try and figure out, can we actually build our own operating model, a personal operating model? Interesting, huh? Let's figure out. So the concept occurred to me when I realized that whenever people join in any organization, they actually struggle to kind of fit in sometimes culturally. And a lot of times, whether you are joining in an organization or whether you're striking it out on your own or whatever it may be, unless and until we have a very strong operating model, it's quite likely that whatever skills and abilities that we may have are not necessarily fully implemented, executed, and therefore we don't reach the potential that we may have. So personal operating model is an inspirational thing that I've taken from, let's say, the organizational operating model. But for that, we need to perhaps take a couple of steps back and see how these terms translate from an organizational perspective to a personal perspective. So if I look at a business model for an organization, it could be very well, things like, oh, this is subscription based, it is freemium, and so many different things, right? So in a business model, you have your value proposition and all of that. And to be honest, you can actually literally use that for defining your own self value proposition. So what am I good at? What skills and abilities do I have? And to just take a look at your resume and you'll understand what your personal business model is. Maybe I'll make an episode about how do you develop your own personal business model a while later. But at this moment, I'm just trying to figure out how can we have a personal operating model that kind of fires away on all cylinders. So whether it is for an organization or for an individual, unless and until the operating model is strong, your business model is going to be unfulfilled. Now, if I look at an organization, and I think it'll help us if we think of it from an organizational perspective first and then translate everything into a personal sort of landscape. So if I look at it from an organizational perspective, a lot of times there have been fantastic business models and, these inspiring entrepreneurs who start off something which is a great value proposition. Like Airbnb, for example, or Facebook, they had fantastic, value propositions which made sense and then garnered a lot of steam in the market, in the ensuing market. The way in which they kind of put together an operating model that fulfills the potential of the business model is the next step, and that is what happens when you try to stabilize once your business model is accepted by the public. And these are different skills. So if I have to compare this to our personal selves, a lot of times we know exactly what we're good at. Like, okay, I'm great at marketing, I'm great at finance, I might be great at collaboration, etc. So and we kind of have an understanding of what our business model is. Okay, I take up a job, or I'm a consultant, or I run my own little gig, maybe on the side, or maybe I'm doing it as a full-time thing, whatever it is. But you have an operating model which is kind of undefined, but the business model is very clear. The business model is what brings value to you, who pays you money for the value that you bring to the marketplace table, if I may. So, how do you define your own personal operating model? I think the most important thing for you to recognize is how are you using your business model, which means your skills and abilities, in the scenario that you find yourself in. And I think this is the first step, really, because you got to figure out whether you are joining a startup or are you perhaps joining a place which is just kind of revitalizing itself by some realignments, or is it like a complete turnaround situation, or are you joining a very successful company and you know is it like just sustaining success? And while I've used it as in a job type of situation, you could potentially use it for even a consultancy gig, or just kind of extend the thought process that I've outlined over here. Identify the scenario that you're finding yourself in becomes the first step, which becomes very crucial for you to understand how do you operate, right? How do you operate? For example, if you joined a startup, well, then speed is of the essence, taking quick decisions is of the essence, and making mistakes and learning from them and pivoting is of the essence. Whatever your business model, whatever your skill set may be, isn't it? And then if I look at a turnaround sort of situation, it's the exact opposite, wherein you're very clear about the fact that you have to minimize risks and you have to make sure that you count your pennies and the rest of it. So again, you're operating your personal operating model. If you're used to a excess and massively spending, or whatever, you come from a job wherein you had a big budget and suddenly budgets are squeezed in the next organization, or your boss is somebody who's penny pinching, it is going to have an impact on your operating model. If you look at sustaining success, and if you come from a situation wherein you have just managed to kind of do a turnaround in the last piece of work that you did, you're suddenly going to find your operating model change. And you can put in a lot of the situations correlated to your personal life so far, and you'll soon find that the moment you join a new place of work, or the moment you start something new or a new project, you have to kind of use the same business model but have a different operating model, which is why the operating model, defining what it is, becomes extremely important. For example, let's make this practical. If you are an ideas person and if you were supposed to come up with ideas, creative ideas for your organization in the previous organization that you worked with, but that organization was kind of sustaining success, then you had the ability to pick and choose and to develop and coax your idea and do research and all of that, right? And that was your operating model. But the moment you join a startup, and if you're an ideas person, you're hired for being an ideas person, but the operating model is going to be, okay, you've got half an idea, try it out in the market, see if it's working. Have 5 ideas when you're just going to have one. And the operating model becomes extremely different. So you need to be geared up for a completely different reality, even though the skill sets may be the same. I think we will maybe have to detail this out, and I will detail this out in further episodes. But for starters, recognizing the scenario, the business scenario that you're in, to understand the tweaks that you have to make in your operating model, personal operating model, is extremely crucial. And for example, if you understand that you have to move at high speed in this new gig that you've got, in this new piece of work you've got, or job you've got, whatever it may be, you have to then say, how do I then come up with more things? Or then how do I slow things down? Or how do I vet things? So your entire process you need to review. Step one is scenario analysis. Step two is reviewing the way in which you do work, and change it up, align your operating model to maybe your place of works, or maybe the business scenario at hand. Make sense? Make sense? Well, I think that there's so much of a treasure out here that we are going to talk more about this as we go ahead, but I will intersperse it with other stuff. But I hope you like this particular episode of mine. It's a starting point, mind you, it's a starting point. We will get there. I'm discovering it along with you, getting smarter, right? 1% smarter is the whole idea with each episode that we go through together. I hope that you like whatever is happening so far, do give me feedback. I am more than happy to receive your feedback on LinkedIn or on Instagram, wherein I'm fairly active as the traveling professor. And hey, if you like podcasts like these, well, all you have to do is just go to IVM and just listen to all the stuff they've got, man. They've got some amazing stuff. Until next time, then. Until next time.
Hi everybody, just wanted to ask everyone for a quick favor. We're running a brand survey right now and would really appreciate it if you could let us know what you think about the advertising on IVM. Go to ivmpodcast.com/survey and do let us know. As part of this, we'll be selecting 10 random participants and sending them some IVM swag, so do fill out those surveys. Hey everybody, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Paisa Vaisa, we have a midweek special. Anupam is joined by Chintan Haria, Head of Product Development and Strategy at ICICI Prudential AMC. They talk about the ICICI Prudential NASDAQ 100 Index Fund. What's it like to be a woman in the city? Find out on the Filter Coffee, where Vedashi Kambete Sharma talks to Karthik about her new book, Fatal Mistakes. On Audio Gyan, Shreya Satish, founder and CEO of OwnPath, talks to Kedar and Abhineet about how OwnPath was created to help professionals grow in their career through lifelong learning and professional networks. On The Longest Constitution, Priya explains how bar dancers are barred from dancing due to an arbitrary moral distinction in the name of public morality. And on Agla Station Adulthood, Ritasha and Ayushi discuss the hazards of chaos and the importance of appreciating silence. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our others for that matter, please do tell a friend. We really appreciate you spreading this. Word of mouth helps a lot. And finally, this week, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Cred, Bank of Baroda, Quarter, CoinSwitch, Kuber, Slay Coffee, and Intel. We really appreciate the support.
Eventually, you'll see the end of your childhood,
get accustomed to womanhood,
enjoy the experience of sisterhood,
might get to wifehood,
or not, choose motherhood,
or not. You'll learn to define your personhood,
earn a livelihood,
change the neighborhood,
and get rid of the falsehood that life post-academia is easy.
So join me, Ritasha,
and me, Ayushi,
on a journey from station starting point
to station, what now?
Next station, Pudin Station, and hopefully Agla Station, Adulthood.
Fresh episodes out every Thursday.